My name is Olivia, and I'm 35 years old. At our annual summer barbecue, my family quietly but unmistakably labeled me the disappointment. My sister, on the other hand, was basking in the spotlight, bragging about a job interview that she claimed would change her life. The twist? That interview was with me. Before I explain how I became the CEO none of them knew existed, let me know where you're tuning in from in the comments. And don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story like this. The scent of grilled chicken hung heavy in the air, mixed with something less appetizing. Thinly veiled judgment. It was my first family gathering in months, and within minutes of arriving, I was already questioning my decision. My mother, Elizabeth, intercepted me near the potato salad. Her face bore that signature look of carefully curated concern. "You're 35, Olivia. Still wandering." Her voice carried that quiet sting only a mother can master. Just then, my sister Victoria swooped in like she owned the backyard, that ever-smug smirk fixed to her lips. "I've got an interview with Nexus Solutions," she announced, her voice raised just enough for everyone to hear. Senior project manager. My dad, James, lifted his beer in pride. "That's my girl, the Parker brains at work." I offered a polite, unreadable smile. They didn't know. Not yet. Nexus Solutions was the public-facing name of the talent division under my own company. My company. Tomorrow, Victoria would walk to the doors of the business I had built, blindly unaware that the so-called failure of the family was the one holding her career in the palm of her hand. She wasn't getting that job. Not a chance. That moment at the barbecue tugged me back to a memory. 7 years earlier, during a colder season and an equally cold reception. At the time, I was drowning in my second year of law school. Debt stacked around me, and my passion for law had withered. Then I stumbled across a glitch, a flaw in how law firms process legal documents. It was slow, inefficient, outdated, and I saw a better way. I poured myself into building a proposal. For the first time, I felt genuinely excited about something that wasn't buried in casebooks. I sketched out diagrams, worked through logistics, and prepared to share it with my family. I stood in our living room, hands trembling as I held up the charts I'd drawn. I expected curiosity, maybe even resistance. What I got instead felt like an ambush. My father dismissed it as a dangerous diversion. My mother cried, pleading with me not to waste what she called a solid future. Victoria said nothing, her silence louder than any word, standing there in her expensive suit, already a corporate golden child. Their message was unmistakable. My dream wasn't good enough. It wasn't their way, so it wasn't the right way. That was the day I started building my wall. I left law school the following week. I picked up the phone and called the one person who still believed in me, my best friend, Clara. "I believe in you, Liv," she said. "Go for it." So I did. I moved into a cramped apartment, survived on instant noodles, and poured every ounce of myself into the solution I knew could work. I named the company Vertex Solutions, a quiet nod to my mother's maiden name, my private rebellion. And as for the public image, the woman featured on panels and magazine covers was known as O. Parker, a carefully chosen pseudonym that offered distance from a family who had already cast me aside. For 7 long years, I worked in the shadows while they mourned what they thought was my collapse. Back in the backyard, my father was still holding court, beer in hand. "If only you had your sister's drive, Olivia," he said. Not cruel, but definitive, like my fate had already been sealed. All around me, they celebrated Victoria's chance at a job from a company they didn't realize was mine. And there I stood, paper plate in hand, invisible in my own story. Then I noticed something. As Victoria laughed, something flickered behind her expression. Her smile faltered for a brief second, and the hand clutching her wine glass had gone white at the knuckles. A tiny fracture in the perfect image she projected. In that moment, I realized tomorrow wasn't just about me proving a point. It was about pulling back the curtain on the entire performance. The next morning, my office overlooked Boston, its rooftops and glass towers glowing beneath the crisp sky. This was my city, my ambition. I wasn't pacing. I wasn't angry. I was composed, intentional. I logged into a video meeting with Clara, now my head of HR, and David Chin, my chief operating officer. Their faces appeared on the screen, focused and professional, ready for what came next. "She's downstairs in the lobby," Clara said quietly. "Perfect." I replied, my tone calm and measured. "Interview her like anyone else. No favors. In fact, treat her like an executive candidate. Press for details. Metrics. Specific outcomes. Nothing vague or rehearsed." David gave a nod, his expression unreadable. "And you?" he asked. I gestured to the secondary screen on my desk. "I'll be right here, watching everything. Let's see who she really is beneath the surface." This wasn't about revenge. This was a professional assessment, an honest look at a career propped up by buzzwords and parental praise. My power didn't lie in dramatic confrontations. It came from clear, irrefutable truth. Victoria stepped into the glass-walled conference room like she'd already won. She moved with the confident ease of someone who'd never been truly tested. She greeted David and Clara with a bright, polished smile, radiating assurance. From my office, I watched the meeting unfold in silence, an unseen presence within the walls of my own company. At first, everything flowed smoothly. Victoria recited her resume effortlessly, like she'd done this 100 times. Then David leaned in. "You mentioned leading a major initiative at your previous firm," he said. "Can you give us a return on investment you personally delivered? What percentage of cost reduction did you achieve?" Victoria faltered. "Well, it was very much a collaborative project. I played more of a strategic oversight role." Clara stepped in. "Your resume lists SQL proficiency. Could you walk us through a complex query you've written recently? Something that involved pulling segmented user data?" Silence. An agonizing pause. I watched as a bead of sweat rolled down Victoria's temple. She wasn't falling apart because of me. She was unraveling under the weight of a career built on image instead of execution. Title after title. No substance. No real foundation. 20 minutes of firm but fair questions stripped away her corporate polish. Her replies grew scattered. Her composure collapsed. She looked lost. Finally, David ended it with grace. "Thank you for coming in, Victoria. We'll be in touch." He and Clara stood to leave. But before she could collect her bag, the door opened, and I walked in. No smile, no anger, just presence. "Victoria," I said, my voice soft but commanding, filling the room like a quiet drumbeat. She turned sharply. Her face moved from confusion to recognition, then quickly drained of all color. "Olivia, what were you doing here?" I walked slowly to the head of the table and placed both hands on the back of the chair. "Welcome to Vertex Solutions," I said. "I'm the so." David and Clara exited quietly, leaving just the two of us. The silence was thick, with everything we'd never said. Victoria stood frozen, her designer purse limp in her grasp. She wasn't putting up a fight anymore. Then her shoulders began to tremble. A deep, shuddering breath broke into a quiet sob. But it wasn't about losing a job. It was a sound of pressure breaking apart, years of silent strain collapsing all at once. "I hate it," she whispered, slowly lowering herself into the chair. "Liv, I've hated all of it. Every position, every forced smile, every single thing they told me I had to be." Her red, tear-filled eyes finally met mine. "You were the brave one. You got out. I was just jealous." And just like that, the anger I'd carried for so long dissolved. What I saw wasn't an enemy. It was my sister, exhausted and worn from pretending. The moment I thought would feel like triumph felt hollow, because what I truly wanted wasn't to beat her. I wanted us both to be free. A month later, we found ourselves at another family dinner. It was awkward, clumsy, even. My parents tried talking about my company, tossing around corporate lingo they'd clearly Googled minutes before. They congratulated Victoria on enrolling in a pottery class with the same exaggerated tone they once reserved for her promotions. It wasn't a fairy tale ending, but it was a start. Messy, human, and genuine. Across the table, Victoria caught my eye and gave me a small, real smile. We were finding our way forward, together, A few months after that, I was in my office late at night, reviewing a grant proposal for a fund my company had launched to support unconventional entrepreneurs. My phone buzzed. It was a photo from Victoria. A crooked, wobbly clay pot. Clearly her first attempt. The caption read, "My first one. It's ugly, but it's mine." I smiled, a real, warm smile that reached all the way to my eyes. And in that moment, I finally understood success wasn't about building an empire just to prove them wrong. It was about making a world where the people you care about are free to build whatever they want. Messy, beautiful, imperfect things that are theirs and theirs alone. It was about designing your life from the inside out. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this journey. It's been wild, and I'm still learning every day. Have you ever felt pressure from your family to follow a path that wasn't yours? I'd love to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. And if any part of this resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. It really helps the channel grow, and I'd love to share more stories like this with you.